Welcome back. So today we talk about the IaC Lambda tools for Lambda. IaC is short for instructions as a code. So instruction as a code tools enables you to manage and provision your AWS Lambda functions and related resources through code, offering more efficient, reliable, and repeatable approach compared to manual setup. Like several IaC tools are commonly used for managing AWS Lambda and other AWS resources. We could talk about mainly three servers, but let's just try to read this configuration, this introduction from the AWS configuration, AWS documentation, which says that the Lambda offers several ways to deploy your code and create functions. For instance, you can use the Lambda console for the AWS command line interface, which is the AWS CLI, to manually create or update Lambda functions. In addition to these manual options, AWS offers numbers of solutions for deploying Lambda functions and serverless applications using infrastructure as a code. With IaC, you can provision and maintain Lambda functions and other AWS resources using code instead of using manual processes and settings. Today we'll talk about the main resources. First, we have three resources. One, we will talk about the AWS cloud formation. So let's talk about the description. So in terms of the description, the AWS cloud formation is an AWS service that helps you model and set up your AWS web services resources. You can create a template that describe all the AWS resources you want, like Lambda functions, Amazon S3 buckets, and Amazon API gateway, and so on and so forth. And cloud formation take care of provision and configuration of those resources for you. We have talked about the Lambda integration, so you can define Lambda functions, IAM rules, triggers, and environment variables directly in the cloud formation template. And in the syntax, you use this in written in JSON or a YAML file. Number two, we will have the AWS SAM, which is AWS Serverless Application Model. Which we put it as SAM. So AWS SAM is an open source framework specially designed for building serverless application on AWS. It extends AWS cloud formation and provide a simple way of defining serverless resources. In terms of the Lambda integration, AWS SAM simplifies the process of defining Lambda functions, API gateways, and APIs, DynamoDB tables as well, and more often in fewer lines of code compared to a raw cloud formation template. In terms of the syntax, SAM templates are extended of cloud formation templates, and you can use both JSON and YAML file. And three, we will have the cloud AWS Cloud Development Kit, or the CDK. And the AWS Cloud Development Kit is a software development framework for defining cloud infrastructure in familiar programming languages and provision it through AWS configuration. In terms of the Lambda integration, the CDK supports the defining Lambda functions and related resources using programming languages like TypeScript, Python, and Java. Abstract away much of the boilerplate needed in cloud formation. In terms of the syntax, CDK code is written in programming languages of your choice, TypeScript, Python, etc. We have the serverless tool, the serverless framework. So the serverless framework, like the serverless is an open source application framework designed to build serverless application on AWS Lambda as well as other cloud providers. It provides an easy to use CLI and simplifies the development of the serverless application. In terms of the Lambda integration, it's very effective to set up AWS Lambda function and related resources like API gateway in DynamoDB. The syntax, the serverless configurations are defined in serverless.yaml files, which use the YAML format. You have also something called a Terraform, like the description, and Terraform by HashiCorp is an open source IaC tool that allow you to define your infrastructure with high-level configuration languages. It supports multiple cloud providers, including AWS. Lambda integration. In terms of Lambda integration with Terraform, you can define Lambda function associated with associated IAM rules and policies, triggers, and other AWS resources. In terms of the syntax, the Terraform configurations are written in HashiCorp configuration languages, HCL, which is designed to be both machine-friendly and human-friendly as well. So I guess one of you will ask, the description of each one of these looks quite the same. Like, what is the difference between all of these between all of these servers? Because they look quite the same. Because if you are hearing to me, because you will find that it sounds like I said similar things. So let's just try to think about that. So AWS, which Amazon Web Services, and AWS SAM, or it's wait a minute. So let me can I make I don't know. So let's talk first about the differences. We want to talk about the difference between CloudFormation and SAM and the AWS Cloud Development Kit, which will be AWS CDK. So sorry, I did have a long day today. So the AWS AWS CloudFormation and AWS Serverless application model, and the AWS Cloud Development Kit, which is a CDK, are all infrastructure as a code services provided by AWS. But they different in their approach, complexity, and the specific use cases. And this is why we try to talk about each one of them. So let's just start first at the AWS CloudFormation. So we will talk about what is it, why we will use it, when we will need it, and so on. So it's first, all of them, they are part of the infrastructure as a code. All of them share the same thing. All of them are part of the IaC tools. So because of that, you find the description of each one of them quite similar to the other one. But let's start with the AWS CloudFormation. So let's start first in the general use case. General. So in the AWS CloudFormation, a service that provides a common language for describing and providing all the infrastructure resources in the cloud environment. It supports a wide range of AWS resources. This is the most important thing about it, because if you want to think about the AWS CloudFormation, it's much more bigger than the SAM and the CDK. So the AWS the AWS CloudFormation service, it's a service that provides a common language for describing and provisioning all the infrastructure resources in the cloud environment, all of it. The syntax, we can use JSON or YAML. The flexibility and control provides a detailed control over AWS resources, but can become complex for RAS infrastructure. Direct management, and it's manage resources by directly creating and updating stacks based on templates. Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about the copy this one. Let's talk about the AWS Serverless. So in terms of the general use cases, or like what we use for, so it's a serverless focus. So an extension of AWS CloudFormation. It's an extension of AWS CloudFormation specified design for developing and deploying serverless applications. It simplifies it simplifies and streamlines the process of defining serverless resources. In terms of the syntax, it uses JSONs and YAML with some additional simplified syntax for serverless resources. The templates here are simplified because it allows for more concise templates for serverless resources like AWS Lambda, API Gateway, and DynamoDB. In terms of the deployed, it includes the SAM CLI, which provides additional capabilities like local testing and debugging of a Lambda function, and generates CloudFormation template for SAM definition. Let's talk about the AWS Cloud Development Kit, which is the CDK. First, let's talk about programming language. It's an open source software development framework for defining cloud infrastructure in familiar programming languages like TypeScript, Python, Java, etc. The abstraction level, it provides a higher level of abstraction than CloudFormation, making it easier to define cloud resources with less code. Underlying technology, in terms of underlying technology, it translates the code with written programming languages into CloudFormation templates. It's just, as you can see, everything is going back to CloudFormation. So developer friendly, it targets developers who are comfortable with general purposes programming languages and supports object-oriented techniques. Let's talk about the key differences. So first, the language and definition. So CloudFormation and SAM use JSON and YAML. The CDK uses languages like TypeScript and Python. 2, let's talk about the target cases, this is quite important here. So the CloudFormation is generated, it's a general purpose for AWS resources, all of them. The SAM is focused on serverless application. The CDK is developer-centric and abstract complexity. Number 3, let's talk about ease of use. So the CloudFormation requires a detailed knowledge of AWS resources and properties. The SAM simplifies serverless definition, but it's still template-based. The CDK allows for using familiar programming constructs and patterns. 4, the learning curve. CloudFormation and SAM might have a steeper learning curve for those not familiar with the for how AWS services works and how have the idea of AWS. The CDK might be more intuitive for developers with background in object-oriented programming. So choosing between these tools often depends on the specific requirements of your project, the skill set of your team, and the complexity of the AWS resource. You need to manage CDK and can be you need to manage. CDK can be particularly powerful for developers comfortable with programming languages, while SAM and CloudFormation are more direct control over AWS resources through declarative templates. So that's it for today's video, and hope you like my content. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will never miss a video.